again, you're talking about a move by the president to wipe probably 15 or 20 trillion dollars off the world market inside of just a week.
Yeah. Don't be an American citizen right now. Bad idea. You know, you're better than being in the Congo, but don't be an American citizen at the moment if you can help it.
And probably best bet not to visit.
Don't visit. I actually I was invited on Tim Pool a little while ago, and I flat out told them this morning, like, don't be too excited. They're inviting every glup shitter now. I don't think Russia's paying the bills anymore. But apparently Wick's going on Tim Pool. I'm actually excited for that. I'm gonna
Oh,
watch that.
dude, please group stream for that one. Not on the fold. We'll do your channel. That'll be
We'll
a
do it on
fun
my channel. When that happens, we'll do it on my channel.
because that's like layers of pathetic. I love it.
I'm so excited. I hope he does well personally, but
He won't.
he won't. I'm just saying that to be a shit. But I flat out told them, like, look, because they were gonna like pay for the hotel and everything. I was like, look, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much. But I don't want to end up at a nice detention camp for 2 weeks because that's what's happening right now. People from Canada, by the way, not from Mexico, not from China, not from India, not from, those places. People from Canada are getting detained at the border because people in ICE are a bunch of hungry freaks who are desperate to do something because they're bored and they hate people. And they are just putting people in cages. They're literally just putting people in cages with the proper documentation. They're just like, oh,
They
no,
are.
no. It's nuts.
I
It's
mean,
nuts. Like I feel stupid saying it because it's like it's so dumb. It's like, well, this has to be an exaggeration. No, that's an actual thing. Actually, can we pop it on the screen very quickly?
it is up right now. British comic creator R.A. Burke banned from visiting USA for 10 years. This story, by the way, is one of those things
It's not the one I'm thinking of. It gets worse. Here, that one, that's one of them.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
Oh yeah, but here's a better one. Here's a better one. Just get ready for this.
There's
You don't
not a
even.
lot of good stories of this.
Well,
She
there's a
wasn't
lot of
thinking
bad
about the dismal
stories,
state of
Here.
U.S.-Canada relations. I'll pull it up into. Oh my God, this is the Canadian who was detained, the famous.
Yes, yes. This person was banned. So you've got people who are being like banned for political reasons, like very petty ones, like that French scientist who was going to Los Alamos, who was banned because he had Trump critical material on his phone. But they also said, well, actually, no, we aren't that sensitive. We actually banned him because he had top secret nuclear information, which is why we sent him away from our country, so we had no control of where that information was disseminated. Because that's what you do when you have a security risk. You send them back to call up their friends in China. But no, so this is this lady basically was told by Canadian authorities that she could get a work visa in the U.S. She goes to the U.S. She goes to the border and is told, nope, you need to, or it doesn't work, whatever. She's like, okay. So she goes back to Canada, comes back, and while she's at the immigration office, entering from Canada, they randomly just arrest her and put her into a cell with an emergency blanket, and she's just left there with no phone call for days. And she spent 2 weeks just on a concrete floor with an emergency blanket in a cage with people who don't speak English.
They brought me downstairs for a series of interviews and medical questions, searched my bags, and told me I had to get rid of half my belongings because I couldn't take everything with me. Jesus Christ.
Here, go up a little bit.
I can't. Is there a look? I can't think of a historical analog for otherized foreign people to have their stuff taken away in mass before they're processed and placed inside of large groups to be transported across the country. Sorry,
not for white ones, to be clear.
I mean,
look,
they were. I mean, it happened actually a lot to just normal Germans too.
Yeah, but they got mixed up with other ones.
Communists, homos, all of us weirdos, right? They got rid of all of us pretty early.
Fine. Sure, I guess. Who cares about those ones, though? But here, this is scroll up a little bit. So look, I started working in California and traveled back and forth between Canada and the U.S. multiple times without any complications until one day, upon returning to the U.S., this is important, returning to the U.S., so she's from the Canada side, a border officer questioned me about my initial visa denial and subsequent visa approval. He asked why I had gone to the San Diego border the second time to apply. I explained that was where my lawyer's offices were, and that he had wanted to accompany me to ensure there were no issues. After a long interrogation, the officer told me it seemed shady and that my visa hadn't been properly processed. He claimed I also couldn't work for a company in the US that made use of hemp, one of the beverage ingredients. He revoked my visa and told me I could still work for the company from Canada, but if I wanted to return to the US, I would need to reapply. I was devastated. I just started building a life in California. I stayed in Canada for the next few months and was eventually offered a similar position with a different health and wellness brand. I restarted the visa process and returned to the same immigration office at the San Diego border since they had processed my visa before and I was familiar with it. Hours passed with many confused opinions about my case. The officer I spoke to was kind, but told me that due to my previous issues, I needed to apply for my visa through the consulate. I told her I hadn't been aware I needed to apply that way, but had no problem doing it. Then she said something strange. You didn't do anything wrong. You are not in trouble. You are not a criminal. I remember thinking, why would she say that? Of course I'm not a criminal. She then told me they had to send me back to Canada. That didn't concern me. I assumed I would simply book a flight home, but as I sat searching for flights, a man approached me. Come with me, he said. There was no explanation, no warning. He led me to a room, took my belongings from my hands, and ordered me to put my hands against the wall. A woman immediately began patting me down. The commands came rapid fire, one after another, too fast to process. They took my shoes and pulled out my shoelaces. What are you doing? What is happening? I asked. You are being detained. I don't understand. What does that mean? For how long? I don't know. That would be the response to nearly every question I would ask over the next 2 weeks. I don't know. They brought me downstairs for a series of interviews and medical questions, searched my bags, told me to get rid of half of my belongings. I couldn't take it all with me. Take everything with me where? And then the woman asked, didn't respond, didn't answer, asked me for the name of someone that could contact on my behalf. In moments like this, you realize you don't actually know anyone's phone number anymore. By some miracle, I had recently memorized my best friend Britt's number because I had been putting my grocery points on her account. I gave them her phone number. They handed me a mat and a folded up sheet of aluminum foil. What is this? Your blanket. I was taken to a tiny freezing cement cell. By the way, this is what they mean by cages. It is a cage.
It's a fucking cage.
It's a cage
indoors.
on a gymnasium floor, and fluorescent lights and a toilet. There were 5 other women lying on their mats with the aluminum sheets around them, looking like dead bodies. The guard
she's calling them aluminum sheets. I know what they are. They're not aluminum, but still, it's fucking crazy to me that this is what they hand for warmth.
Yeah.
It's this concrete floor. It's not going to work. Like, what the fuck, man? Mylar's fine. It's great. It's just this is.
So here's the part that freaks me out.
What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Look. So like the detaining part, okay, that can be more or less inhumane. This is the part that spooks me. 3 days go by, and it's only on the 3rd day that she's allowed to make a phone call. So while this is going down, she actually can't communicate with the outside world. She can't talk to a lawyer. She can't call family members. She just is ghosted. She just disappears. She's just been depersoned.
Yep, she's disappeared.
I called Britt and suppose she didn't know a phone number. Like, what would have happened then? I called Britt and told her that I didn't understand what was happening, that no one would tell me when I was going home, and that she was my only contact. They gave me a stack of paperwork to sign.
Children of Men really was prophetic.
Children of Men was prophetic. That is an accurate statement.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sure Shot.
420, nice. I called Britt and told her that I didn't understand what was happening. They gave me a stack of paperwork and told me I was being given a 5-year ban unless I applied for re-entry through the consulate, which she already said she would do. The officer also said it didn't matter whether I signed the papers or not. It was happening regardless. I was so delirious that I just signed. I told them I would pay for my flight home and asked when I could leave. No answer.
And no access to lawyer with that. By the way, it is incredibly illegal to do this in the United States. This is actually against the law for the state to do this, where they just say, look, do this or else, and not offering you a lawyer or reading. At no point, by the way, has she said that she's been read her rights in any way. She has rights. Doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. There's no difference.
Well, actually, let's play this out for a second.
This is fucking insane.
Let's assume she was an American citizen who's being detained on the erroneous reading of her paperwork by an immigration officer. The fact that she can't call anyone, the fact that she has no way to communicate with a lawyer, a family member, an embassy, like any of these things, that makes it so that if she does have legal rights where she's at, literally nobody knows what's happening to her so they could be enforced. And here's the question I want you to be thinking about. This is somebody who remembered a phone number, who spoke English, who was a citizen of Canada, where this would be a scandal. How often does this happen with people who aren't because nobody cares? How often does this happen with people who perhaps are even American citizens?
May I?
Yeah.
I have a really awful
Please.
article. A Chinese woman detained at the U.S.-Mexico border has died by suicide while being held by immigration officials. 52, not named, had been taken into custody for overstaying a visitor visa before she was transferred to a facility in Yuma, Arizona, where she died by suicide. It's unclear what the exact cause of death was, an ICE spokesperson said. She was found unresponsive in a cell at the Yuma border. The shocking incident was revealed Friday by Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
Hey, by the way, when someone being held by immigration commits suicide, but the cause of death is unknown, that means they haven't confirmed it was suicide.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually really fair. Good on Jayapal, really. Woman had been in the U.S. on a B1, B2 visa, which is temporary for tourism and business. The woman was found unresponsive. ICE staff provided medical assistance. She was raced to a nearby hospital. She was pronounced dead. Officials said the death was reported to DHS, an Inspector General, and an office that oversees ICE agency conduct and launched investigation. The circumstances surrounding blah, 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 blah. Here's the fun part. It took days for them to announce this and let the world know. So let's say, that we have two Chinese nationals who probably don't speak very significant English. There's no reason to assume they would be super fluent.
Let's say somebody has a circulation issue.
Let's say someone's diabetic.
Let's say someone needs medication. Let's say someone needs medication that they need to refill on a regular basis. And they can't communicate that to a very unintelligent loser who works for ICE. Because they are, by the way. They're not hiring Mensa material over there.
No, they're the stupidest people. They're the people who fail to be cops, which we can imagine.
I was about to say that. Which, by the way, I don't know if you've seen footage of American cops. They run the gamut.
Police agencies are very open about the fact that they actually have an upper limit to IQ because they don't want intelligent people to be police officers. That's a real thing.
Long story short, these people operate at the periphery of the law, and it's actually a blessing in a very perverse way that these people died in custody, because here's why. The way these organizations are run is so incompetent that they don't actually know how to cover up and handle somebody who dies in their inhumane conditions that they subject people to, which means that for every single person who dies in custody, how many others are just shipped off to God knows where and die in obscurity there? We don't know. There was a guy who was in the United States as a refugee, essentially, because he was homosexual and he was persecuted in Venezuela. They sent him back. Just sent him back.
Well, this story gets really fun here because this is the story is fascinating itself, I think. But I'm going to read a sentence and we'll just go through this, and you'll have the same issue I do, I think, by the end of it. Jayapal said the woman, a 52-year-old Chinese national, had overstayed a B1, B2 visitor visa and was detained in California, later transferred to Arizona, where she was held until her March 29th death, which was not immediate. Her death came after the Border Patrol in Yuma Sector's Blythe Station arrested two Chinese nationals, a 38-year-old man and a 52-year-old woman, during a traffic stop near Needles on March 26th, different area. Agents seized more than $220,000 in cash concealed in aluminum foil in two duffel bags. CBP said the money was suspected of being tied to illegal activity and confiscated under civil asset forfeiture laws. Weird, right? Here's the next line. It was not immediately clear whether the 52-year-old woman of Chinese nationality who was arrested was the same woman who died in Border Patrol custody. This is how we treat people in this country.
By the way, this is why bureaucracy is terrifying, and it's not because there's a bunch of people with jobs you don't understand who are pushing papers all day long. Those are the ones you want. Those people are important. They keep records and they make sure people are held accountable and they make sure that stuff is being done correctly to the letter. bureaucracy gets dangerous when you just have a whole bunch of people who don't have specialized power, but do have special authority to just fill in the blanks as they go, and have the general sense from on high that they want to be doing a certain thing to a certain degree and not doing other things to a certain degree. So you have people, for example, who are trying under a situation in which a whole lot of bureaucratic agencies are being gutted by a shoot from the hip moron like Musk and his gang of frickin' teenagers. Hey, don't fire us. Look at all these brown people we're catching.
It's actually, I'm gonna make you more depressed.
Oh,
because we're just gonna read it is. Just wait. You ready?
okay.
Take your feel. Tell you this is like an 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. Where are you at?
I feel like I'm going to say I'm a 7 retrospectively, so I'm going to say
I'm
6.
ready. You're going to be a 9.
Okay.
Then they moved me to another cell. This is the same woman from that article. This time with no matter blanket, because I was reading ahead a little bit and I went, oh no. I sat on the freezing cement floor for hours. That's when I realized they were processing me into a real jail, the Otay Mesa Detention Center. No, just think for a second. What would be the depressing link I would be copying and pasting right here? That's right. It's the Core Civic page of Otay Mesa Detention Center because it's a for-profit prison. There you go. It's Core Civic. Core Civic. That's the largest provider of private prisons to the U.S. So this company made money off of this transfer. Do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it? Is that great? I recognize the name because Otay's been named before.
I am so glad I don't live in your shithole country right now. Oh my
God. It is a shithole country. Here's the warden, Christopher LaRose.
It looks like an evil finger.
They all look like evil fingers. That's what their job is. This is Core Civic. I was told to shower, given a jail uniform, fingerprinted, and interviewed. I begged for information. It's not a state-run jail. This is a private prison. They don't give a shit about who comes in or why or anything. Everyone's the same. This is a foreign national in a for-profit U.S. prison. How long will I be here? I don't know in your case, the man said. Could be days, could be weeks. But I'm telling you right now.
Prepare for months.
You need to mentally prepare yourself for months. What the fuck? I felt like I was going to throw up. Yeah.
It gets into the sentimental stuff. It's just like, okay.
No, I mean, these are the people who are in this prison.
Yeah.
She asked what happened to me. She'd never seen a Canadian before. Think about that. So she probably doesn't get to talk to a lot of people because they probably don't speak a lot of English. So how many people in this for-private prison are there who don't speak English, have never had a lawyer talk to them? This woman didn't even get a lawyer. And she's a fairly well-to-do Canadian Westerner white woman who's attractive. All of those bonuses, and no one gave her a fucking break. Now imagine the guy with the fucking king crown tattoo on the side of his head who's just poor and coming from another country and getting fucked. Doesn't speak a lick of English. How do you think he's getting treated?
Well, if he's a hairdresser, he's being sent to a mega prison in El Salvador illegally so that he can be either inculcated into a gang as the condition of him surviving, or he can be killed by a gang. Because guess what? You know why El Salvador has so little gang violence? Because they don't have so little gang violence. Because their insane criminal president or prime minister, what the fuck do they have there? Who fucking cares?
El Presidente.
Presidente made a deal with the gangs that they can operate basically freely in mega prisons like the one they're sending Americans to right now. And by the way, we're not going to count those mass graves you pour your victims into as gang violence. So just make sure they all go in there and you're scot-free. I'm not even joking. Oh, by the way, if there's anything involving law enforcement or the military, that's not gang violence either. So, for example,
it's actually no homicides can be recorded either.
If a cop is involved, and by involved I mean observes or comes in.
And now for a message of hope: everything is garbage.
Thank you, Insomnia. Everything is garbage.
If a cop arrives at the scene of a shootout and a bunch of people die, but a cop's arrived at the scene of a shootout, guess what? No homicide.
No
Yay!
homicides.
No crime. Even though, by the way, these things being like things that you need to make special categories for implies that it's rampant because you wouldn't otherwise.
And just to finish off the Depression Sunday with a little cherry on top.
Administration has
Yeah, just so you know,
That's it.
you know, your president is actually just arresting innocent people.
Yes.
Not just arresting innocent people, because that'd be
Sending
bad
them to
enough,
death camps.
because American prisons are shit. But
They're not CCOT.
But they're sending them to Cruelty Squad in El Salvador, which is a gang-run institution headed by a criminal rich punk who sold out his entire country. So, just so you know, looks like white meat's back on the menu. Just FYI, you're not safe if you were banking on the racism of the Republican Party to protect you if you were white. Just FYI, in case that ever crossed your mind. No, they're just picking people up. They're coming from France. They're coming from Canada, and it's getting worse. And they're not going to get more accountable as the scandals ramp up.
No, less so. Well, now you're going to make me pull it up again.
Yeah.
I didn't have it earlier.
What happens?
We're gonna watch one last video because it was this.
Oh, I know
turned
what
out
this is.
It's this one.
Yeah.
I actually am. This is where we start going. Hey, all you weirdos who celebrated zero trial deportation of humans to a foreign country to put in for-profit death camps that we're paying for. Hey, could that happen to Americans? I wonder. What do you think the answer is?
The president there said he would be willing to take American citizens in the federal prison population. Is that one of the ideas you're going to be discussing?
Well, I love that. If we could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars, if he would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law.
You don't know what the law says on that.
Oh,
he
no,
does.
let
He
him
doesn't
finish.
Now, here's the thing.
Let him finish what he says real quick,
Okay,
because it's
go
it's
on.
over the back of the head and then purposely run people over in cars. If he would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law would say anything different. If they
I can't imagine it would say anything different.
So just FYI, by the way, that's a declaration by your president that Americans have no rights as Americans.
Yes.
Just so you know, none. You're actually all illegal immigrants in America.
Yep.
Just FYI. You were there at his pleasure. By the way, you run that through your head and you're stupid. You might think, oh, people who push people in front of subways, people who run over people on purpose. I don't want those people living next to me. You know what? Maybe it is against the law. Maybe it does set a dangerous precedent, but I'm not going to shed any tears about those people being sent to a mega prison. They deserve it. And they're dangerous anyways. But here's the problem. Now you're running on the judgment of this hooligan as to who those people are. And now you're running off of, and he actually means people who push people into subways. He doesn't mean, for example, people who annoy him. If anyone's watched South Park, he doesn't mean, for example, people who are critical of the government. He doesn't mean, for example, just run the list down, and it's just like
It's people who punch people in the back of the heads is a reference to a conservative trope online of the knockout game that young black men do to white people. I'm serious when I say that. That's a straight up call towards that racist trope from X. Like, this is the thing. So enjoy it, but 10 more seconds.
They can house these horrible criminals for a lot less money than it costs us. I'm all for it.
Saving money by sending them to a foreign prison without trial.
You know what's funny about this?
That's America now.
You know what's funny about this? Hey, guess what? Those foreign prisons, they're not taking care of your prisoners for free. Just so you know, they aren't happy to
No,
get
they
more
are not.
mouths to feed. So just FYI, yeah, they're taking their jobs overseas, and we want to make sure that all the money's coming into Americans. By the way, now we're going to take money away from American prisons. We're going to offset all of those gains. We're going to pay foreign prisons to just enslave our people. Because that's what they do. It's what prisons are, by the way. They aren't care facilities. You work in them. Just in case you were under the illusion that people in prison sit in cells all day and exercise. No, you manufacture shit on the cheap. Good, have fun peeling garlic with your teeth for the rest of your life. That's what you're doing.
But I got to tell you, Sunday, to be fair, a vote for Biden wouldn't have been much different. They're essentially the same people. A vote for Kamala would have been the same thing.
This is why I hate leftists at this point, because it's like, again, this is I thought of a brilliant meme in my head. It's like,
Yep. Oh,
I
know.
will help. I will send lots of money to help Israel kill thousands of children. Boo. I'll send more money to kill more of them. Yay! That's what you got for it. That was the benefit you got. Did you save any Palestinians? No. Actually, by the way, Israel has no shackles whatsoever. They can do whatever they want now, and they will be enthusiastically supported by the Trump government, more so than the Biden one, which actually did put tepid, pathetic lines in the sand that didn't honor, but they were there. And in addition to this, now you get to enjoy a softer version of the similar treatment. Significantly softer, to be clear. Like you have no conception of how bad it is there. But
None.
But if you thought you were powerless before, oh boy. Get ready. Because now you have no rule of law, and you're gonna be really poor really soon.
Very much so. And it's going to only get worse for all of us. For
But
everyone
it's okay
here.
because Hassan Piker's got his giant gold cube.
Hi,
A happy thought.
oh, I don't have a happy thought, but I have a secret to tell you.
No, it's about a happy thought. Hello.